Well, hi there. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. Jose Quiñones, the CNC dude. With yet another new puppy. Now, some of you may say, man, why did you buy this Vise? And why didn't you buy another one of the Tormek CNC Vises, and now you have two, right? Well, as it turns out, I didn't buy this Vise. Well, I guess I bought it, but not by buying a Vise. Basically, I got lucky here. The folks at the university where I bought my second Tormek, I basically came in contact with them because I needed the Mac 3 license file, so I was able to get a hold of them, and they did a little bit of searching. A few weeks after I had acquired the machine, they found the CD, so now I was able to get the license. And you know, Tormek was going to give me a new license, but we wanted to make sure that the first license was lost before I got a new license. But no big deal, because I was able to find the license. And then a few weeks after that, the lady in charge of the CNC shop there calls me and say, you know, we're changing our Vises, and you're welcome to have one of these Vises that we're not going to be using anymore, because obviously you got the Tormek, and I got this Vise. So, you know, when you get stuff for free, it's very hard to say no. But actually, I did have to say no to yet another Vise that they wanted me, or they offered. This thing was probably the size of this table. And I said, you know what, that's just too big. I have nowhere to put it, and I'm really not interested in moving that gargantuan piece of steel. And for like 5 nanoseconds, I felt like an idiot for not taking it. But man, that thing was so big, and I can imagine that thing landed on my feet. And rest assured that any body part that ends up below that Vise would have become a decal. So there was nothing I could do with that, and there's no reason for me for wanting that. So I assure you, I'm okay, even when I say no to a free item. But this Vise was all loose, and everything was moving around. So I thought, you know what, we're gonna have to take it apart and clean it up and fix it. But as it turns out, I couldn't find any video on how to dismantle this Vise. So I thought, well, that could be a good tutorial in case anybody wants to mess with their Vise, what needs to be done. It's really not that hard. I mean, it's just no rocket science. So we'll go ahead and remove every single little component in here, and basically just rework this Vise. Tools that we're gonna need: some screwdrivers. You may need a rubber mallet, depending on how tight this guy is setting. Some Allen wrenches, and well, of course, your Vise key. Now, this Vise, I believe this Vise is an import. I really doubt it is a Kurt, but somehow, and I guess by pure luck, I was given the Kurt key. So I'm not certain if this was a mix-up or if this Vise is a Kurt. It doesn't say Kurt anywhere, and I don't know. It's my impression that Kurt Vises are built a little bit better than this Vise, so I really don't think it is a Kurt. But man, I mean, it doesn't have to be. It's definitely a very usable Vise, even if it is not a Kurt. It can be used, but it is my impression it is an import. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to take it apart. And I'll be talking about taking stuff apart as we do this. You know, as an electrical engineer, and pretty much the great majority of professionals, taking stuff apart is like a big no-no. And since I have started interfacing more and more with mechanical folks, I've noticed that I am kind of the wimp of the group because people are under the impression that you should just dismantle everything, right? So it seems like mechanical folks are the only ones that like to take stuff apart. Well, let's get started here. And the first thing we're gonna do is remove the jaws. And by the way, removing jaws is something that is just part of the game. It's nothing tricky here. In fact, vises come with multiple jaws and different B groups and different accessories that you can interchange in your vise. So this part is pretty much something that you would do with any vise. And you know, in some cases you can actually make your own jaws. So taking this apart is not one of those things that you would be like, oh my god, what are you doing? Why are you taking those jaws off? That is just part of what you would do just because you have a vise. Okay, like I was saying, when I talk on forums about changing stuff on my machines or making modifications, and you know, I'm kind of the coward that doesn't want to do stuff like that. And people are like, "What? Why are you so afraid of making changes to your stuff?" I mean, you just take it apart, put it back together, and change it however you want. So I've been thinking about that, and it's very interesting because when you think about the great majority of instances in life in which you acquire something, you really don't take stuff apart that much. Like, you don't go to Best Buy, get the latest TV, you know, now TVs are ultra high resolution. You don't go to Best Buy, pay $2,000 for a high resolution TV, get home and start taking it apart to see if there is something you can improve. You just use the TV until it dies years after. You don't do that with your you don't tear, or you don't open up your microwave or your dishwasher or your washing machine. The great majority of individuals on this planet with the means to acquire white goods, of course, I'm not talking about people that live in a desert and still have to hunt to survive. The great majority of people here in the US buy stuff to use it, not to open it up or make modifications. So okay, the jaws are off. That's the easy part. We have done nothing yet. Okay, now is when we start taking stuff apart. And the first thing that we want to do here is to remove this guy. So there is a screw back here. Okay, that would be this screw. We're gonna take it out, and that will be with the flat screw. And we're just gonna take it off. Bam, it's out. Simple stuff, okay? At this point in time, we are delving into the realm of dismantling. And like I was saying, for mechanical folks, this is commonplace. Pretty much the only professional which is okay with just dismantling everything. Everybody else will just buy stuff to use it. Now, to remove this guy, we have to turn the vise, and there are two screws in here. So I'm gonna grab my, I think is my 6mm. That's not it. 8mm. Okay, and then let's remove the screws. They're a little bit loose because I have already done this. This vise was way dirtier. Remove those two screws. And I found about these two screws by reading the Kurt website, and that's why I think this vise is not Kurt, because their manual chose some pieces, small pieces that are not present on this vise, and these are pieces, you know, like washers and stuff, that made me think this vise is an import, just because those pieces are not there, and it's something that a quality product would have, but an import wouldn't. Okay, screw will come off. Be careful not to trample your fingers when you're doing this. This stuff is heavy, so you don't want to hurt yourself. By the way, I'm not certain why you would do this, unless you wanted to clean the vise, or maybe make some modifications. But in my case, it's because I wanted to clean the vise. And you know, the only way to remove this was with tapping it with a mallet a little bit. Now we want to remove this guy, and for that we have to remove the screw, because this screw is like a stop. But anyway, as I was saying, most mechanical guys are okay with making changes to their stuff, and for us mere mortals who are from the mindset, I just paid good money for something, I don't want to mess with it, what if I break it? So definitely we look like wimps. So what I have found in the past few months is that you basically have to arm yourself with lots of valor and braveness, and just do it, right? It's not one of those things that will come naturally, because naturally we are of the belief, man, you know, I paid $2,000 for this TV. If I open it up and mess it, I just lost $2,000. Warranty's void. Why would I mess with this? And in fact, with a TV, you really don't want to open it, because chances are you're gonna mess it up. There's very little you can do with electronics today. Okay, for this guy, we're going to need, let's see, yeah, this one. This is 3mm. Anyway, basically what I did was unscrew this guy out, and remember how it is positioned with this guy facing back. And the screw sits here, and this collar is the one that is fixing it to the position. So remove the collar, and there is a little spring washer here. And that is how I know this doesn't look like the Kurt. There is like a lot of stuff in here in this region on the manual, according to the Kurt Vise manual. So it looks like this is a vise that was done to get some kind of cost reductions. It's obviously not the same kind of mechanical engineering as the one that I saw on the Kurt manual. So there you go, your vise is fully disassembled. When you're taking stuff apart, of course, remember where everything came from, and where everything has to go back. Stuff that you will want to do here, obviously clean everything as much as possible, remove the debris. I like to use a little bit of WD-40 to make it easier to remove the debris. I haven't cleaned this part yet. Otherwise, this stuff is stuck in there really good. Then you will want a little brush and move it around, make sure that everything gets a little bit of oil here. It's gonna look like crap, but once we clean it, it's gonna look way better. And you know, this vise is in tremendous shape. It has a little bit of nicks and dents caused by most likely beginners. Like for example, I know this jaw here, not this one. This jaw has a little hole in there, so most likely a part was positioned and they made a hole and they didn't realize the jaw was down there. I have made that mistake so many times. Luckily not lately. Then I have this piece of rag in here. It's basically a shirt. It's an old shirt that I just cut in two with scissors. Be careful with these sides here, and you know, pretty much be careful whenever you're dealing with anything metal. Remember, this is not scrapbooking, and even on scrapbooking you can get cut with paper. Imagine when you're working with steels. Sometimes they are sharp, and our skin is the softer element on the room. So always think that you're gonna get cut, and that is gonna help with not getting cut. But I can feel this guy is sharp. I'm not saying to take a stone and try to remove the sharpness. I mean, that's probably something that could be done, but I don't see why. I'm gonna take a fresh piece of this guy, remove as much debris as possible, and no need to remove these keys, I don't think, unless you're planning any kind of modification. That looks good. Now I'm going to oil the waist a little bit. So let me clean here a little bit more. You know what? I'm just gonna clean this way better out of camera. No need to bore you with that. And then we'll return when we're ready to put it back. Well, I'm back. I have cleaned this as much as I care for cleaning it. So we're ready to put it back. And the best thing is to go backwards here. I'm gonna put the screw first, but I wanna put a little bit of oil here. So let me do that first. Put a little bit of oil. After all, this is basically a bushing. And you know, I am not telling you that I am the ultimate expert, that I went to school, that I have been doing this for the past 30 years. So some of these steps may be ill-fated. Perhaps you have more experience. Feel free to comment if you think I am making something ridiculously stupid. I have no problem with learning, and definitely we all want to learn as well. So it's possible that I'm doing something that is not right. Be careful how you put the color, because clearly the color has is polarized, I should say. That's an electronics term, not necessarily a mechanical term. But you can see that there is a little bit of a curved chamfer here, and this one is flat. So that tells me that the flat side goes towards the spring, okay? And you can feel the springiness. And of course, be aware that there is a little hole here, like a divot, I guess is the term. And that's where you want the set screw to land. And I guess you're gonna feel the set screw catching that divot. Okay, and that's good enough. And this is not super duper perfect. Then again, this is not a ball bearing, so I wouldn't imagine this is gonna be perfect. We're gonna put this guy now, and let's see. Yeah, there we go. I like to put a little bit of oil here as well. Just to enhance the smoothness. Feels good. Feels good how this is getting screwed. That's my porn section of the video. Alright, now we're gonna put this guy back. Be aware that there's only one way of putting this right. Because of course there are mounting screws on the other side, and Just tap it. And if you need to move it sideways a little bit, just tap it there. That's good. We can put this guy back. We could have done this screw before the top, but that's okay. No biggie. I don't think there is any particular way in which this screw goes. It is not symmetric in the fourth direction, in the fourth polarity. So now we can put this guy. And you know, when I picked the vise up, let me show you how it was. So right now, this guy is lifting. So that's how this guy was when I picked it up. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do something. Let's take this back again. And I want to put a little bit of oil here. Make sure this guy is super clean and there are no chips. You don't want those two pieces rubbing with chips in the way. And by the way, you can see that this surface has seen better days. But that's no biggie. So a little bit of oil. Spread it around. Now make sure there are no chips in here, because you don't want anything in between these two surfaces. You know, just by looking at this casting, it doesn't look. I mean, I've never opened up a curd, so maybe the curd looked like this, but I don't know. Something tells me the curd would look cleaner. Okay, we can put it back now. Of course, it's gonna be super loose, and then it's gonna get tighter as we tighten this screw. And it's pretty solid there, but it moves. Okay, so this is great. Now we are not done yet. I haven't placed the screws in here. I just wanted to have the whole vise put together so I could flip it and have a little bit more support. And be certain to recognize which screws goes where. This guy has all of these screws in here, and of course I know which one is which already. These two are for the coolant splash guard that go on the back, and these two are the ones that go here, and then these four are for the jaws. Intriguingly enough, I have 4 screws and 3 different lengths. Not certain if you can see that, but you know, that's not too strange, because as it turns out, like I said before, the jaws are supposed to be interchanged. So what a bunch of people do is that they have boxes of screws. That way you can have a screw that is proportionate for your jaw. So clearly these jaws were changed at some point in time, and they just grabbed whatever screws they had. So I doubt these are the screws that came with the vise, but that's no problem. You just use whatever screws you have. I mean, and whatever screws are not too long. Which just goes with the same topic that we have been discussing earlier. Where basically you can modify your stuff and you can make changes to the mechanical contraction. And even if you pay $1,000 for a vise, that doesn't mean that you should not make changes to it. No, I'm not saying go and buy a $1,000 vise and then transform it into a Barbie house, a Barbie doll house for your daughter. You know what I mean. Basically, you want to make improvements on the vise so that it's a better tool, if you know of any improvement. I mean, some vices don't need an improvement, but you are the judge of that. You are basically you know what you want to do and how to obtain it. So you know way better than us what is it that you want your vise to do that it cannot already do, or whatever item. And that's it. The vise is fully assembled. I haven't put the jaws, but you know, that's just there is no science here. When you're putting it back, make sure that there is no debris. Of course, we don't want debris, because that's going to change. And this is another funny fact about how I have changed in the past few years. When I got started in machining in 1996, I believe, I took a few classes on my local community college, and back then I remember reading about people complaining about, oh, this stuff is 0.02 of an inch off, and I was like, man, who cares? I'm cutting stuff here that is inches. Why do I care if it is a few thousandths of an inch off? Well, a lot has happened since 1996, and I have been burned so many times with stuff that doesn't align, and 2 mils here, 2 mils there, they add up. So you may end up with 20 thousandths of an inch, and now 20 thousandths of an inch. We're talking about 5 or 6 pieces of hair. That's a hairy situation already. So definitely your mindset changes as you are playing with stuff in the machine shop, and you realize that the problem is not the 1/1000th of an inch that you are off. It's the collection of 1/1000 inch that you're off every part. So definitely you want to minimize them as much as possible. And because chips are made of matter, they occupy space. You don't want them in between your parts. Or I hope you don't want them in between your parts. Nothing super scientific about putting your jaws. And remember, the idea behind your jaws is that you can put whatever jaw you want. In fact, some people will take pieces of aluminum and just transform them into jaws, and that's what we call soft jaws, because now you can actually carve a profile on that piece of aluminum and make something out of it. You wouldn't do that with these steel jaws. They are too hard to mill. I mean, if you want to do it, you can, but I don't think it's very practical, and I've never seen of anybody using the steel jaws as a soft jaw. But I'm not gonna say it's impossible, because I don't think it's impossible. It's just maybe it's not as practical for the great majority of cases, but there might be a case where you want to carve your your hardened steel jaws. I wouldn't even know how to do that. Now, be aware that that these jaws, you know, they may not align here. That's obviously not pretty, but it may be okay. So that's basically the only problem that I'm experiencing after putting it back together, is that when I close it, let me finish with this screw and then I'll show you. Okay, so I have placed the jaws back, and you know, as I am tightening, it looks like they don't align. This definitely looks hideous like hell, but I think for the most part, these can still work. So basically what I have to do is untighten the screws and move this until they align. But I have already tried that and they don't align perfectly. So it's very possible that I am putting them backwards or something. Maybe this is supposed to be the bottom. I don't know. But I don't care, because it will be eons before I actually use this vise. I have too many vises now. I have 1, 2, 5 vises and 2 milling machines. So I'm not certain what I'm gonna do with this. But since the goal for my milling machine, for the second Tormac PCNC 1100 was to sell it, chances are the owner of the new machine will get this vise. Or I don't know, maybe I keep it and I give them another vise. I don't know what I'm gonna do there. I don't even know if I'm gonna keep the second machine. Don't tell my wife. Luckily, these videos are so long and so boring to her that she's not watching this. Hopefully she's not watching this. Well, there you go. We took this vise apart, put it back together, and it is in way better shape than it was when I got here. So that should teach us a lesson. At least it teaches me a lesson that taking stuff apart and put it back together is not necessarily a bad thing. But in my experience, I have had to learn that the hard way by just basically making it. And every time I do stuff like that, you know, the amount of fear on my chest and the amount of stress is quite a bit, because I was trained in the art of it's working, don't mess with it. Whereas most mechanical folks are trained in the art of it can be improved, let's mess with it. So two completely different schools of thought. To be honest, I think the most responsible thing here is realize that we are the human race and we're not a spider, so we don't want to make the same spider web that we've been doing for the past 50 million years. The only way for progress is to mess with stuff. Basically, we have to make changes. We have to look into what is not as good as it can be, and we have to be brave enough and undertake the task to tear it apart, make changes, put it back together, and if we mess it up and it's irrecoverable, then we start again until we get it right. It's just basically how we have evolved from, I'm not saying that the spiders are our ancestors, but this is why our houses are all different and we don't, it's not the same spider web or the same cave, I should say, the same cave that our ancestors were doing 10,000 years ago. So yeah, don't be afraid to tinker. And you know, I'm saying that, but man, this was free. If I messed it up, what's the big deal, right? It's definitely easier when you don't have to cash out anything. But either way, definitely this teaches us that you can take stuff apart and put it back together, and if you're cautious and the information is out there, you use it, chances are you can end up with something better. Thank you for tuning into this YouTube channel. Feel free to comment and add your tidbits of sapience and wisdom so we can all benefit from them. And I'll see you on my next video. Have a good one.